So what always bothers me about these events is what I kind of view as a exercise in collective narcissism, kind of virtue signaling at its most base. So why do I say this? Why do I think that this is an exercise in narcissism? Well, it just seems so disingenuous to me. You have all these people who they never met anybody involved. They never met anybody who knew anybody who was involved, but they're deeply and personally impacted by it. It somehow, like if you're in France, we have all these world leaders who are calling and saying, "Oh my God, I feel so bad. These people in Toronto, they got hit by a van." It's somehow impacts me over in France, and it's so disingenuous, because by and large these people, when there's exceptions, they don't care about the people in their family, they don't care about the people in their social circle. They walk past people on the street who are mentally deranged and living in their own filth. They don't care about the unborn and the millions of them who have never been allowed to be born. They don't care about Christians getting killed in Africa or the Middle East. They don't care that slavery still exists. They don't care about any of these like huge meta issues where millions, or in the case of the unborn per se, tens of millions have died. Like, that doesn't matter. Crime in general doesn't matter. What matters though is you have this incident that gets all this media attention, and it's a perfect time to just display to tear your clothing in grief, and to show just the world how great a person you are, because I was deeply impacted by this incident. And it takes a special kind of person to feel profoundly impacted by this incident. So there's this term we have called virtue signaling that really applies here. And basically virtue signaling is when you perform actions the purpose of which is to show other people how good a person you are, how you're compassionate, how you care, how you have empathy, etc. So whenever these events happen, you just have this outpouring of virtue signaling. Some good examples of virtue signaling, because when virtue signaling is done right, it doesn't impact you personally. Now, ideally, it would be something like this, where you just have to use a hashtag Toronto Strong, or you just have to go, "Oh my God, I can't believe it, that something like this could happen." That a crazy person would take a car and run some people down. I can't imagine something like that would even be like, how is that possible? They act like it's like aliens or something. But it's like by posting that on Twitter or whatever, you can show everybody how great you are. Sometimes you have to do a little more effort. Like, you have to show your solidarity by running a crappy image filter over your profile, like the French flag or the LGBTQ flag when the Supreme Court did that decision. You can show it that way. That's kind of a slightly more complicated, because as opposed to just writing a tweet, you have to run the image through the thing and then have the tweet. So this is a good one, because I don't think we have a filter yet. So you just have to go hashtag Toronto Strong. My thoughts are with Toronto. Well, my thoughts aren't with the Christians ISIS put into bread mixers. That doesn't really bother me. My thoughts aren't with the tens of millions of children who'll never be born. That doesn't really bother me. My thoughts aren't with the people whose lives have been destroyed by drugs or gang violence. But no, like this though, this was the first time people died in the world since that like bus crash in Saskatchewan. It's too much. It's too much. It's so disingenuous. Every time one of these happens, everybody tears their clothes, everybody makes their hashtag, they post their filters, they go, "Oh my God, I'm so upset. Oh, console me." I can't do, I don't know how that this could happen. And just all these people who have nothing to do with the event, like our prime minister, like foreign leaders, etc., feel the need to get involved and pretend that they care about it. And maybe I'm like just being like a sociopath or cold here by saying like it doesn't affect me emotionally. I don't know but anybody involved. People die in traffic accidents all the time. People fall down the stairs every day. I see hundreds of just like older males expressing their white privilege by lying in the streets of Toronto in their own filth, dying of drug overdoses on a daily basis as I walk to work. And they don't get like a hashtag. They don't get national media coverage. They don't have people with these dumb campaigns raising tens of millions of dollars. I forget how much money they raised for that community in Saskatchewan. They raised like tens and tens of millions of dollars for them. And it's like people are gonna say, "Oh, you're cold and you don't care." That's not really it per se. I'm not saying these things aren't tragic. I'm not saying they aren't life changing and they aren't the worst thing that happened to ever, like that will ever happen to the people involved. My heart goes out to these people. It's a tragic, depressing, horrific thing they had to endure in Saskatchewan. I can't even imagine what would happen in a community that small. In this case, I'm not trying to diminish the guy who did the drive-by either. Like, as I've said, I think he should be publicly executed for his crimes and made an example out of. Although I'll be called cold for caring enough to want him to be properly punished. My issue is I just can't take the fake grief. The fake pretending that this thing affected you on some personal level, when it's the first time you'll mention it and you'll never mention it again. I mean, at least for me, on the issues where I actually get upset about, be it the death, the genocide of the unborn, be it Middle Eastern Christians, I feel like I at least talk about it often enough. And I do bring it up. And I've been bringing it up for years now. So I think in my case, just to defend myself, and if it's an issue that you bring up a lot, like somebody dies, I don't know, gets killed in a domestic violence, and it's something you talk about all the time, that's kind of different. But my issue is just all these people who take this as an opportunity to just show off how great they are. And it just really bothers me. And you just have to have all these public displays. Toronto City Council went on recess until Wednesday. It's just like, just fuck off. I doubt, maybe one or two of them like knew somebody who was involved, but it's like, oh, the whole city shuts down because a couple people got killed in this tragic accident. It's like, what does the Prime Minister have to do with this? What does like Mike Pence or the Prime Minister of France? What do any of these people have to do with this? What does it have to do with a strong city? And it just irritates me. It's so fake. It's so disingenuous. It's just, it'll happen. It'll never be referenced again. It's garbage in, garbage out, pretty much. And to me, like, this one was bad, but the worst thing I've ever seen with regards to this was the ice bucket challenge, which I hated. If you ever want to see a bunch of just smug, unbearable, self-righteous behavior, look at the ice bucket challenge. Because a couple people like myself criticized it and said that it was just people trying to, a lot of it was just people trying to show off how, like, oh, I poured ice on myself, I'm gonna cure a disease, or whatever the hell it was about. I think it was like, give $50 to charity, or like pour ice on yourself and film it and give $20 to charity. It was something like that. But you had like tens or maybe hundreds of thousands of people pouring ice on themselves. Like, do any of them know what multiple sclerosis even is? Do they know anybody who has it? No. It was a good opportunity, because all you had to do in that case was just to pour some ice on yourself and film it. And you could, like, next couple times somebody, like, criticizes you, you could go, yeah, but I made that video. so I'm a great person because I did that, or I gave like $10 to the families of the hockey team out in Saskatchewan because that's just how magnanimous I am. It's like Joaquin Phoenix. Am I not merciful? It's like that kind of thing. But no, it's so fake. It just bothers me. It bothers me because I think Stalin was right. I think probably one of the most insightful things ever said in human history is if you kill one, it's a tragedy. If you kill 100,000, it's a statistic. Maybe it's just we as people can't grasp meta level death. Maybe we can't just grasp democide, I guess I would say. We can't conceptualize like the number of people who've died in the Syrian civil war, or the number of people who will be raped and murdered in Europe as a result of the refugee crisis. We can't conceptualize that, but we can conceptualize this. And maybe just part of it is because we aren't allowed to, for instance, grieve over Rotherham or say ask what it says about us as a society, but we can, however, look at this and ask what it says about us as a society, because it's looking like it was just an apolitical crazy person. There might have been some weaponized autism involved, because apparently he liked the Supreme Gentleman himself. But this is like something nice and safe that we can take a stand on. We can show our courage by taking a stance against a crazy person who runs people down with a truck. And that is courage. That is a profile in courage to stand up for that. To take a stand that everybody you know agrees with and that nobody will criticize. Like, I don't know what could be braver than that. It's like it's such just a liberal thing. Like, to just pick a cause you know everybody agrees with and to support it, and then to want credit for supporting something that everybody you know agrees with. And there's always this narcissistic thing like, I supported gay marriage and it was so unpopular, even when like everybody they know supported it. And they live in Canada or something where they arrest people who say politically incorrect things. So anyways, I just think it's an exercise in narcissism and fake public grief. I just can't take it. It just really bothers me. And I'm not just saying this to be contrarian. Every time this, be it Paris, be it this, be it the guy who beheaded the guy in Toronto or London or whatever, it's nobody has the balls to actually do anything to address any of these problems unless it's evil white supremacists who did it. Then you can do it. But if it's this, or it's members of a certain religious group, then like there's nothing we can do. To quote I just like to end this by quoting the great mayor of London: terrorism is just part of living in a modern city, and the sooner we all accept that, the better.